biggest college football games of the weekend. It's been a while since you saw Bobby and I, of course, because last week was Army Navy week, and before that we did, of course, preview or we recap Selection Sunday live for you guys, and now we're back to talk about the first round of the college football playoff, 12-team format. Super excited to discuss what that's going to bring. Um, and it's all starts this weekend. So we're excited about that. But first, Bobby, we we have crowned a new Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. I don't think that was necessarily a surprise. I have to go back and look at our predictions to see who we uh, thought would be the Heisman winners really quick. But real quick recap on that. Do you feel like it went to the right guy?
I think you could have gone. You really could have gone either way with Hunter or Ashton Genty. I think both players had extraordinary years in different ways, but what Travis Hunter provided, that unique, you know, the unique ability to play offense and defense on both sides of the ball to that high of a level. I mean, it's something I never thought we would see in modern college football, but um, he sure as hell did it. I think that was really impressive. Obviously, Colorado having a really impressive year as well. When a lot of people, myself included, weren't very big on them, and he was a massive part of that as well. Just a really cool college football story overall. Obviously, everything going to Jackson State, traveling with Dion there, and he's just. I think he's more than a worthy recipient of the Heisman. I think you could have definitely made a pitch for Genty as well, but overall, yeah, I think he was the right guy.
Yeah. And it looks like we didn't talk about Heisman in our predictions. But yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter, phenomenal year, phenomenal player. Nice to see that the top two vote getters were not quarterbacks this year. Um, Always good to see a non quarterback, non running back winner, especially a guy that plays two positions, obviously more than deserving of that honor when he is elite at two different things. But real quick, Bobby, I want to do something really fun to sort of kind of like wrap up this Heisman conversation. Um, I want to. You're the biggest Oklahoma fan I know, and I don't know it's that many. So it's, but you are. You're a huge fan. Even if I knew a lot of them, I'm sure you'd be one of the biggest. Um, can you name all the Oklahoma Heisman winners off the top of your
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
head?
I can do them in order. Uh, it would be it's Billy Vessels, Steve Owens, Billy Sims, Jason White, Sam Bradford, and then Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray.
Nice. I knew that'd
Oh
be
yeah,
easy for you.
yeah, yeah. No, we got a whole park of statues out there. So
Nice. That's awesome.
yeah, there we go.
I love it. I love it. Well, there's that. All right, we got a few big games to talk about. Um, Again, first round of the 12-team playoff. Let's kick it off with. We'll just go in order of like the actual games. We'll kick it off with Friday's game, 8 p.m. Eastern, Indiana and Notre Dame in South Bend. Um, ESPN, ABC, the Fighting Irish are favored by 7.5 over Indiana, who had a great season. Shout out to Kurt Signetti for the turnaround there. But the book on Indiana is hadn't really played anybody, and then you did play Ohio State and get rolled over in that game. So you know Notre Dame to some justifiably a little bit of a big favorite here. Um, and so there we have it. Um, for me, I think this is super fun for that, for that area. Like two programs from the same state in the first playoff. That's 12 team. And this is what the beauty of having the non-neutral site first round is all about. So let's just kick it off. Like, what do you think? How do you think this game is going to go?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is a massive regional deal. Super rare to see these two teams play. They haven't played since 1991, and Indiana has one win since 1908. So the series very lopsided um, and very rare. Uh, Obviously, going to be special, exciting, um, and look, Indiana's been a team that's obviously been insanely impressive this year. What Kirk Cinetti has done in year one, it's mind blowing. Um, that being said, last time we saw them out there, they looked completely outclassed by an Ohio State team. Notre Dame has been and has looked like one of the best teams in the country outside of Northern Illinois. So yeah, first things first, you feel like, well, last time we saw them out there, they got the doors blown off of them. So likely it's going to happen again. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I feel like losing can teach you lessons and you can come back and be better, the next time out you face it. And I'm intrigued to see how Curtis Rourke and that Indiana team, how they've improved since that horrible, no good, very bad game in Columbus. And yeah, it should be just an awesome environment. Um, this is why this is what we've been looking forward to. Maybe not specifically this, because nobody could have predicted Indiana in the playoff, but this is what this playoff first round is all about, and it's truly exciting to see. I think Indiana has a bit better of a chance than people think, but this Notre Dame team is certainly not the one that lost to Northern Illinois earlier this season.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like you can't. It's almost like you don't even want to believe the numbers, or believe the stats when you analyze these two teams. I mean, it's impressive on paper, right? Notre Dame top three in points and points allowed. Indiana second in points, sixth in points allowed, right? But there's the schedules are so lightweight. It's almost like, damn, like I know these are good teams and coaching's good, the quarterback play is good, but I don't know how much I can trust when I look at, the numbers. Um, and that's why it's so fun that these two teams are going to play each other. And even after this game, whoever wins, we may not know how good they actually are, to be honest. But I think this is going to be a fun one because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, really, honestly, I could see this going either way, either close game or Notre Dame blowout. Um, because I don't know, and it's so funny. We played a 14 week season, and there's still so many questions. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the playoff, that we don't know. The sport is so varied and so vast, and you play so many different teams that it's impossible to compare apples to apples. So really, the only way to really find out is to play it on the field, like what we're going to see on Friday night.
Absolutely. Well, like we said, Notre Dame is favored by 7.5. Environment wise, probably more Fighting Irish fans, but going to be a huge contingent of Indiana. Obviously, it's a very local game to in that state. So I don't know if there is going to be a large advantage of the home field. So to me, this comes down to I trust Riley Leonard and Marcus Freeman a little bit more. Kurt Cignetti, as great of a year that he's had with Indiana, this is your first rodeo in this position. This is the first time you've sort of been a part of this. I know Marcus Freeman was not was not necessarily, the head coach whenever Notre Dame was taking the Ian Book teams to the playoff or whatever. But this program has kind of been here before, so to speak, in some form or fashion. Indiana, obviously not. So I think this opportunity means a lot to Notre Dame. I think it means a lot to Indiana, but I do trust the pedigree a little bit more with Notre Dame having been here recently, and the way they played, the way they've been so dominant in so many of these games. Excuse me, like you said, outside of Northern Illinois, and then they played a close one in Louisville, but um, they played even frisky teams like Georgia Tech. Got a big win there. Didn't slip up against the frisky Service Academy teams either. So I like Notre Dame here because of that.
Yeah, and I trust me, I've loved this Indiana team. They've been so fun to root for this entire season, but it feels to me like Notre Dame has just been a picture of consistency and a picture of just really, really good football, since that disastrous game in South Bend earlier. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game. I just feel like Notre Dame has more firepower right now. Riley Leonard's been just excellent, and um, I don't know. I think Indiana, for all of the improvements they've made, they haven't played a ton of really quality competition, and I mean we've seen them slip here and there where they don't look as good against a couple teams. And I will say, I could definitely see this being an upset, but right now I'm going to trend towards the safer bet, and I think that's Notre Dame.
Yeah, absolutely. Notre Dame. Um, and I honestly I like the points. I like Notre Dame minus 7.5. Um, I just think Indiana, maybe they build something here, like maybe they build off of the year and kind of get better and sort of you know with experience they find some a groove under Kurt Signetti. But I think this year it's kind of like welcome to the table moment for them, and they can build off of it. But I like Notre Dame a lot. We agree on that. Okay, the next game is SMU. Almost stole the ACC championship away from Clemson, and for that they get to go to a team that did not that lost that also lost their conference championship, but worse, and go to Penn State and play against the Nittany Lions. Um, Interesting how that works. This game was a noon kickoff on TNT and Max, um, and Penn State is favored by 8.5. Now, SMU is not necessarily a powerhouse of a team, but this is another spot where it's a big game, so you have to ask if you can trust James Franklin, even at home, even in a against a team that isn't necessarily like again, this is SMU, right? Um, Vegas seems to trust um, Franklin, and the public seems to think that the Nittany Lions can pull it off with 92% taking the money line. Um, but 65% of bets are on SMU to cover. Um, and I think I'm with that. I think I like SMU to cover, but I think this is going to be probably the closest game of the weekend, surprisingly.
I can see
Well,
that.
yeah,
Like Penn State has been very up and down. I feel like this season, um, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like I haven't seen them blow a really good team out. And I think SMU on their best day is a pretty darn good team. Um, I don't know. I just keep thinking back to like I don't know that USC game where they didn't look remarkable at all, and yeah, they've just Minnesota. I don't buy it. I don't buy Penn State. I think they win this one, and it's so perfectly Penn State that they got the easiest path. Um, and maybe they deserve it. And it'll be kind of funny if they win this one. They're like, see, look, James Franklin finally won a big game. But sure. um, so I don't know. To me, I think Penn State. I think they have enough to beat SMU, who has had a light schedule, and for a large portion of that Clemson game were completely outclassed before they made the run they made. Um, but I don't know. I think this should be a really fun one for sure. Um, Excited or interested to see what the atmosphere will be like. The ticket price is pretty low. I don't know if Penn State will have the most excitement for what is a relatively non-marquee opponent that was not group of five last year. Um, I don't know. We'll see, but I think SMU. I mean, they have the makings of a team that could be pretty frisky and give give the Nittany Lions a run for their money.
The James Franklin apologists will definitely be out if they win this game. I agree with you there. Oh, this is he won a playoff game. Like, give yourself a pat on the back, James Franklin, for pulling this one out. And yeah, I think SMU should feel a little bit disrespected by the placement here in the bracket. If you need anything else to fuel you, if you're in that locker room, it would be that. And I definitely believe that. Like I said, I feel like this is going to be one of the closest games. One of the things that was so insane to me, and we talked about it for sleepers, was how many mistakes that Penn State made, how many times they turned the ball over. Like, if they don't find a way to clean that up, then it doesn't really matter because they're going to be toast anyway at some point in the playoff. But I think if we see a lot of turnovers from Penn State in this game against SMU, I think it'll be what keeps the ponies in the ball game. Even though I think Penn State probably a little bit more talented, but I think you're going to get a great shot from the Mustangs, and I think the key factor is going to be too many mistakes, too many unforced errors, and maybe and if Penn State doesn't protect the football, then it's going to be you're going to see SMU be within striking distance and surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'll say this too about SMU as a program. This might be the worst Mustangs team we see for a little bit. The amount of money that the boosters are pouring into this and the momentum they have, I could see SMU being a problem in the ACC and college football as a whole for several years to come, especially as well now that they've locked up Rhett Lashley, that head coach of theirs that has done a phenomenal job down there in Dallas.
There you go. It definitely could be a factor for sure. All right, so it sounds like we both have Penn State. Yeah, I would say SMU covers though, but Penn State makes it to the next round. All right, we got Clemson, Texas next. This one is in Austin, of course. Texas, the ACC championships, win the play. Texas, runners up in the SEC. Texas kind of feeling like they should have won that game against Georgia. They should have a bye. But now, sorry, I'm not so much, guys. Now they're fending off a Clemson team who is, again, coming off a conference championship, no pun intended, sort of had to claw their way to get back into this scenario. And then you're going up against coach in Dabo Swinney, who's, like we just said about Notre Dame, they've been here before. Dabo Swinney's been here before. He's won championships. He's played, college football playoff games, albeit, 14 format, but still, he's used to this. So, I mean, I don't know. This might be the biggest trap game, like, written all over it that we've seen in a while. And I don't necessarily trust Texas to not slip up here, Bobby. I know, you've got haterade for them, for the Longhorns coming, but I mean, I'm so serious. Like, I don't know. I'm not confident Texas wins this game. They're favored by 12 points. I think on paper that makes sense, but I don't know, man. I'm a little worried about Clemson if I'm Texas.
Absolutely. And if you're the Longhorns, you really, really wish that this was an Arizona State or a Boise coming to town, because I feel like Clemson is just a really, really tough draw. They obviously haven't been a perfect team this year. I don't even think they're that great of a football team, but they have this kind of championship pedigree, with Dabo Swinney as head coach. They have like, when you have been to the mountaintop and have won a bunch, and yeah, like Clemson hasn't been back there in a while, but these are guys who they still recruit at a high level. They recruit to try to win championships, and that is a scary thing to have, walk into your backyard like that. And to me, I feel like that's, they they might have gotten a really tough draw here, and you got to give Dabo credit. He has a way of motivating his guys, and his guys have a way of winning games that they should not win. You can look at the Pitt game or from earlier this season, or SMU last week, as in, last time out we saw them. They just have a way of being resilient. They believe, they scrap, and you're going to have to find a way to put them away early. And I mean, put them away early, or else you're going to be in a battle. And, you don't, for a team that hasn't had a ton of experience with, I mean, they haven't put teams away. I mean, you look at Arkansas, you look at A&M, these are teams that have hung around. Even Georgia in the SEC title, that is a situation where if you keep this thing close and you don't just throw a dagger right into Dabo's, little Clemson sweatshirt at the, early start of the game, they might hang around and win that thing. So to me, if you're Texas, you want to start out, fast, hot, and looking like a college football national championship contender, which I think they've been good, but I don't see where all the hype is quite to that level still. They've been solid, but they haven't been dominant. Texas needs to be dominant in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. Texas has not been dominant. Clemson is scary for all the reasons you and I have talked about already. Texas also, you're starting to hear clamors again of, is Quinn Ewers, the man for the job? Is he the man that's going to lead them to the championship? And for right now, it seems like Texas is very firm in sticking with him as starting quarterback, but I think you're going to have an issue if he starts off slow or he doesn't play well, and Clemson, finds a way to, they, make some plays, and now you're playing catch up, perhaps having to throw Arch in there, and then it's sort of derailed everything. But like you said, yeah, you can't let a team like Clemson hang around. It's too much experience, even with Cade Klubnik not necessarily having playoff experience. Him being an experienced quarterback with an experienced coach who's situationally kind of knows what's at stake here. It makes it a really scary proposition for Texas. On the other side, if you want to play devil's advocate a little bit, I don't think that Clemson is at the level of Georgia. And Georgia is the only team that Texas has lost to this year, right? So it's like, all right, if I were to compare, let's take Georgia out of the equation because it's not a fair comparison. If I were to compare Clemson to anybody else on Texas's schedule this year, I would say maybe we're talking Vanderbilt. Maybe we're talking maybe A&M was a little better than Clemson. You mentioned Arkansas. I don't know. Maybe Clemson is a little better. But if we were to agree on, let's say Vanderbilt, well, that game, even on the road, you got more of your home crowd, but that's a tough game. You pull through. That game was a little closer for most of the game. Not as close as maybe the score indicates, but they let Vanderbilt, they let the Commodores hang around. So I think they're on upset alert for sure. I think them being at home will probably help in some aspects, but yeah, if they don't take care of the ball, I think Clemson and Dabo figure out a way to pull out the win.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if there are turnover issues, then for sure, I think that could be, I mean, just totally flip the game on you. And it's not Daryl K. Royal is not the best crowd in the world. They're a bit wine and cheese. They're not. When it's a big game, they can get up for it. Don't get me wrong. And this one is a big one, but you can get a little doubt, a little bit of doubt creeping in, and a little uncomfort going. And I don't know. I think Clemson has a way to fight and potentially win this one. I I think when you really look at Texas's schedule, I mean, this is you have a real argument that this is the second best team they've played all year, maybe even probably third, depending on how you feel about Texas A&M. So I think it's about a toss-up between A&M and them. Um, but I think there's a little bit more confidence uh, with the coaching staff and what Dabo has going. And Klubnik, like when he's on, and this is a homecoming game for him. He's from Austin, has competed and probably competed in this stadium in the past, knowing how Texas high school football is, and there are a lot of his teammates on the other sideline, Michael Taft being one of them. So the storylines are there for a Clemson win, uh, but overall, I like the Longhorns to pull it out. I think they're going to keep them close, uh, but I don't know. I feel like Texas is just a better team, and I think they eke this thing out. But I think it's going to be a pretty darn good football game for a 5-12.
Yeah, it is going to be good. Again, Texas favored by a whopping 12 points. That's the most. That's the widest or the biggest margin of any game this weekend in the playoff, at least. Excuse me. 97% going with Texas money line. 62% taking Clemson to cover. And we're looking at we're looking at I lost my train of thought. I apologize. I as dangerous as Clemson is, with some time to prepare, I trust and a little bit of rest for viewers. If he's healthy, I think I trust Sark to figure it out, especially given that it's in Texas. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Texas. I'm not going to mess with the line though, but I think Texas wins the ball game.
I'm going to go with Georgia covering. That's all I'm going to say. I think Texas probably wins the game, but I really do feel good about Georgia covering. Georgia, sorry, Clemson covering.
Clemson. All
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Clemson, my bad. Hey, look, every time I feel like Texas is performing poorly, it's probably a Georgia game.
As
So
far as Georgia, yeah.
they're close enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Location wise.
Close.
But yeah, but I like Clemson to cover.
Awesome. All right. And again, that game is one on TNT and Max. All right, last game in the first round of the college football playoff. Ohio State favored by 7.5 over Tennessee. 8 p.m. kick, ABC, ESPN. All right. A lot of people will have some opinion. A lot of people will have some opinions on Ryan Day's employment with Ohio State if the Buckeyes were to lose this game. We talked about the Ryan Day factor already. We have talked about, how important it is for Ohio State to get back, at least to the Final Four, if not all the way. After the losses they've suffered to Oregon and Michigan, but they have Tennessee in front of them, who I think I've said it all year, Bobby. It seems like they're a little bit forgotten this year in the SEC. Like they just kept winning and nobody was really talking about them at all. But they stay consistent. They they've been consistent. They've been winning games. Obviously, slept up to Arkansas and Georgia, but other than that, Tennessee's been solid. Ohio State obviously got a lot of wins at the beginning of the year. Fell to Michigan State, fell to Oregon, and then fell to Michigan, and that was pretty much it for them. So, question is, what are the factors that are going to be the most important in this game?
Yeah, talk about a massive matchup, and I don't want to just. I feel like I have a broken record with how I'm talking about every single matchup being exciting and big. And
I mean, they all are.
So,
they all are.
This is so incredible. This is what it's about, And to me, I think Tennessee provides a very unique strength. I think their running back Dylan Sampson has just been remarkable. Offensive Player of the Year in the SEC. When the season started, everyone was kind of pointing at Nico Amo. I still can't pronounce the last name. I apologize, Nico. About him as kind of like the guy behind there, but for me, it's clearly Dylan Sampson who has been just incredibly impressive. So offensively, I feel like a key factor there is, can Ohio State stop Dylan Sampson? Can you force Tennessee to be a little bit one note, throw the ball a little bit more than they have been? And then, on the flip side, Ohio State's going to have to deal with an absolute beast of a defensive line. And look, they're no stranger to solid linemen in the Big Ten, but last time out you play Michigan, and things don't go well there. So you're dealing with a little bit more dangerous situation there. So to me, I feel like on Tennessee's defensive end, if they can create havoc, get Will Howard to turn the ball over, if you get bad Will Howard that we've seen from time to time because of that, if you can force them into that, get the nerves going, hell, get the boo birds going in an environment that feels kind of doubly against Ohio State. You'll have a ton of Tennessee Volunteer fans there. If you've seen the stats, they're flooding in to the Horseshoe. And if you're Ryan Day, you also have the Ohio State fans against you who are pissed and what you fired. So it's a situation that could turn south quickly if the Vols kind of get a pretty big lead or get out to a 10, 14 point lead to start. So I think those factors to me are going to be massive. If Tennessee can get out to a big lead, we've seen them hold out on situations and slow the game down and really grind it down like they did against Oklahoma. So I think the start and really just controlling the line of scrimmage for the Volunteers is those two things are just I think they're going to define the game.
Right. I think yeah, I think this is so interesting for a lot of reasons, but especially the pressure that is on Ohio State is like so immense now, right? Like this means so much, and we're only at the first round. Tennessee's a good team. Tennessee's well coached. Tennessee's got a young quarterback on the rise that we could be talking a lot about next year. And Ohio State is just trying to survive so that their head coach can keep his job. And it feels like completely different vibes to me. Um, I think I can't really find a football reason to pick um, Tennessee, so I'm gonna go with my gut and choose Ohio State um, minus the 7.5.
Yeah, and I think the football reason to me, I totally agree with you because this is Ohio State team, most talented probably in the sport, most expensive in the sport, but you know, football reasons, that's how you get everyone slamming Ohio State against Michigan and them losing. They just find ways to lose games, these big games, because of being out physical or I don't know. I this to me, I just feel like everything, the vibes, all of this was so tremendously bad for Ohio State that I feel like this Tennessee team's going to come in and really just deliver a death blow to the Ryan Day era. I think they have the tools to do it. I think they have the physicality to do it on the defensive line. James Pierce is one of the best players in college football, and if you can win the turnover battle, you can win at Ohio Stadium. Um, I just I think the vibes are so bad, and it's going to be a shockingly orange crowd there that I don't think people are going to be prepared for. And I don't know, Tennessee vibes are great. They haven't been in this position really since 1998. Uh, so I don't know. I'm going to go with the Volunteers. I'm going to take them straight up to pull off the upset. Uh, Real question is, will there be enough Tennessee fans to storm the field and steal one of the goalposts to throw in the river?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. um, and it's so funny because like now Ohio State's at the center of all this like field storming, flag planting mess that's just like been insane. But that's a whole other podcast conversation, to be honest with you.
I'm pro flag planting. I love that. It makes me happy. Good old Baker Mayfield just took it national.
If you had to pick me, if you had to say, all right, pick which game you think will be an upset. For me, it would be hard to choose this game, but for the show, um, I like Tennessee.
All
So
right.
yeah, for the show I like Tennessee. Um,
Just in terms of general upsets or in this game specifically?
no. I mean like
If you had to pick an upset,
yeah.
with
Like if I had to pick an upset, I would not choose out of the four CFP games. I would not choose this game to like call an upset on because I think you probably have a chance both with the SMU and the Clemson game. I think the likelihood of an upset is stronger in those instances, but I think the energy that both these teams are coming into this game with, even though Columbus is a very tough environment to play in, I think I like the the vibes that Tennessee is bringing. I like their offense. Inexperienced quarterback is always tough, especially because Ohio State can play really good defense. and I'm a little worried about that. So again, every reason for me not to pick this game as the one that's the upset. But I do think Tennessee, just kind of based on how they've been this year, really flying under the radar. They had some got some good wins, been this team, the SEC, that just had a good year, but again, overshadowed by so many other topics that we talk about. I think Tennessee has a chance to really go into Ohio State, and honestly, like that loss to Michigan is probably still shocking to Buckeyes fans. That loss to Michigan probably still is leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So I don't even think like this would hurt as much because they've already lost the biggest game of their season. So yeah, I like Tennessee for all those reasons.
If they can move on from that, that's going to be massive. If they can move on, and they have shown that they can move on from a big upset like that. They performed really well in that Peach Bowl against Georgia, I feel like a couple years back when I guess it would have been 2022, got just missed a field goal and they would have been in a national title. So they have shown that they can bounce back, but that is as bad of a loss as you will ever see in college football, circumstantially.
Well, CJ Stroud isn't walking through that door. And,
no.
but besides that, I agree with you, Bobby. Like, if Ohio State does bounce back, it's going to get everyone back on their side. You're going to get everyone's good graces. The Ryan Day talk simmers down, and now everyone's like, okay, Ohio State looks ready against Tennessee. People start to sort of, look at you a little bit better. You get some cool points. Same with it's like our James Franklin conversation. People are like, okay, yeah, you win a first round game against a good team. Short memory. We move on. Ohio State's the greatest team ever again. Ohio State can win the national championship. It's all that. I think we go back to the conversation if they win this game, and maybe deservedly so because again, Tennessee is a really good team. Well, that's our 4 games. We're not going to rapid fire this week. It's just bowl games. They don't really matter. We touched on this briefly, Bobby, when it was like a possibility. But now that it's official, I do want to get your quick thoughts before we go and do Lock of the Week. I do want to get your quick thoughts on Belichick. Bill Belichick officially hired as the North Carolina head coach. We know I'm a fan. I can give my quick thoughts, but how do you feel now that it's official?
Yeah, wild to see. Obviously, long term, I'm intrigued as to how it's going to go. It looks like he's, going to eventually pass the position down to his son, and I'm less sure about that. Overall, though, immediately, I think there'll be a boost for UNC. The Tar Heels recruiting, I think that's going to be a huge plus for them. Obviously, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest coach in NFL history. So that's pretty big time. I don't know if it's a fit, though. I'm intrigued to see how it works. We haven't seen a coach of that profile go back down, especially to a situation that is as volatile and weird as college football is. You kind of have to be tuned in a different way to do it. I guess last time you could think of anyone would be Herm Edwards, and that didn't really go well. But it's an era of college football where big names matter, where money matters. And if he can navigate that and bring a staff together, I don't know. I'm intrigued to see how it works out, but a little bit skeptical at the moment. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I understand the skepticism. I think there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical. We've gotten some good news in the recruiting cycle since the hire was announced and in the portal. I think we're going to have to continue to see what happens from that perspective. But I think at some level, here's 2 things I like about it. and I'll say one thing I don't like. Two things I like about it. One, I like that he's taking the approach of making it a let's say an NFL prep, right? Like we're gonna prepare you to be NFL players or to be successful in whatever. And I know every school says that, right? But I think like with the way that college football is now structured to where players are getting paid for their services, I think there is I like that the school that I root for is thinking about college football from the lens of where we're at and where we're going and not the past. Like they know that we need to treat players like professionals. We need to, we need a GM. We need to run this like the NFL because NIL has professionalized college football, and so we need that. So I do like that. I mentioned this last time, but I do feel like I'm a little bit happier to have Bill Belichick the coach. I think it's an upgrade over Mac Brown the coach. So I think it's a great coaching upgrade from purely X's and O's. Purely X's and O's. Huge upgrade. What I don't like is you mentioned you're not sure about the fit, and I'm not sure personalities, him having the temperament to handle college kids, even in the professional setting that college football is now in. I have questions about all that, and I think those questions are legitimate if other people have those questions too. So, for me, like those are my thoughts, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what we have. Okay, lock of the week. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. Um, lots of good stuff. Excited about these games. All right, last week, I took Oregon straight up, trusting the process, trusting the Ducks, trying to catch up to Bobby, not doing anything too crazy. I'm taking. I took Oregon. Love the pick. Got not an easy win, but got their win over Penn State in the Big Ten championship. We needed that one. Bobby took Georgia +3 to beat Texas. Haterade pick that worked. Congrats on that. So the scoreboard has Bobby at 18, me at 12. Still need to have some. Bobby still has a good lead over me. He still has some good wiggle room ahead of me, but it's all good. Still got time to catch up before the end of the year. So it starts this week, and my lock, gonna go with my gut instinct. I like Tennessee and Ohio State to go over the total of 46.5. Two good defenses. Both of these teams do play good defense against inferior opponents, and even Tennessee against Georgia held them to 31, which not amazing, but like it could have been a lot worse. Ohio State, against better teams, they allowed 32 to Oregon. Penn State and Penn State, they were able to shut down. Indiana, they were able to shut down and not score a lot of points from. But normally, when that does happen, we kind of see on the other side that Ohio State tends to score points whenever it's been that blowout situation. So I like the ability of both of these teams to score points. Neither of these teams really like let their foot off the gas, and so I think it's either this game where both of the teams score, and we see the total go over 46.5, or like we said, if for whatever reason it's a blowout on either side, both of these teams can score into the high 30s, 40s with ease. So I'm curious. The number being so low is curious to me, but I feel great about Tennessee and Ohio State hitting the over of 46 and a half.
All right. I'm also staying in that game as well. I'm going to go with Tennessee to cover 7.5 on the road. Love the hook there. I like the ball straight up, but I'm going to go with the spread here to keep it safe. I think they keep this within a touchdown. Um, yeah, I think this is going to be a really good football game. I'm really excited. I think this entire weekend is going to be a resounding success and clear proof of concept that one, the expanded playoff works, and two, home sites are awesome, and we need to move that to round 2 as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The round 1 home sites are going to be fun.
Imagine Penn State or SMU having to go on the blue and play Boise. That would be so cool.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I completely agree with you there. All right. Well, that is it. That's our show. Those are our locks. Bobby's taking Tennessee to cover. I'm taking the game to go over 46 and a half. And we'll see you next week to recap it all and, of course, preview the next round. So excited that we're in this era, excited to see the games, and excited to come back right here to the Weekenders and talk about it. So if you liked this, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Peace.
All right.
All right, cool, man. Thanks so much, dude.
Absolutely. Good show.